Everyone, thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Level Up with Laiken. If you are looking for tangible strategies to scale up your practice and the mindset you're going to need to do it, please hit subscribe. I have a new attorney on every week where we discuss the strategies that they use to successfully scale up their practices. This week, I am so excited to have Ben Swanson on. If you do not know this man, you need to know this man. His mindset practice is amazing. Y'all know that's my jam. Even more legendary would be his demand letters, not to mention hysterical. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my honor.
And your practice is the Swanson Law Group, and you specialize in personal injury exclusively, correct?
That's all I do.
Okay. Would you mind sharing for everyone who doesn't know you how you got started?
Sure. Well, I was raised in Iowa. I was born in California, but my formative years were in Iowa. And I went to law school and obviously undergrad out there. And I practiced law for about 4 years in Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa for all you Californians out there. And it's not Idaho. But I did mental defense work, and that taught me a lot about heavy litigation, and it taught me a lot about the anatomy of the human beings.
It is a crash course in medicine.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And so that part was very interesting to me, but working for insurance companies was not fun. And I didn't like winning by not losing, which is the mentality that you've got to kind of wrap your mind around if you're doing defense work, which a lot of good plaintiffs' lawyers started out doing. And so basically, I practiced there for a bit, and my wife, who was born and raised in Iowa, said that she was going to go west, and if that I loved her, that she had a seat for me. And I hopped in, and her and I and a little dog drove from Iowa down to LA. And it was there that we kind of fell in love, or I fell back in love with California. And I had taken the Texas bar thinking that we were going to go out to Austin, but we instead stayed in the LA area. And I got a job, and it was kind of out of a place that I think we call Mills. There was a high volume of clients, but little attention to cases. And that turned out to be a very good fit for me at that point in my life. It was all plaintiffs' work, and I really liked helping plaintiffs. I don't like bullies. I don't know many people who do. And in my opinion, the insurance company is just a group of bullies that try to push around people who are hurt. And so that was a cause that I could buy into. But as time, went by and, life happened, I decided to strike it out on my own. And that was about 5 years ago. And I haven't looked back since.
Okay. So I want to unpack that a little bit. When you went to school in Iowa, did you know in undergrad you were going to become a lawyer?
Not at all.
How'd that happen?
I was a very confused young man, which, probably describes a lot of college students. I started out actually pre-medicine because I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and that sounded cool. It wasn't. And so towards the end of my college undergrad period, I switched to political science and psychology, and then that kind of naturally led me down into going into law school.
Okay. And when you went to law school, did you know what kind of lawyer you wanted to be?
No, I did not. It was more of a series of experiences that I didn't want to do. One of my first experiences in the law was at the AG's office. This was before law school. And there was a SVP, Sexually Violent Predators program that was, really, really eye-opening. But it was something that I didn't want to devote all my energy towards, even though it's a very noble cause. And I found out pretty quickly that criminal law was not something that I wanted to do. And so I kind of backed into this to my first job, and it was, like I said, med mal, which was interesting. And I poured a lot of energy into that. Fortunately, I had some pretty good mentors at the time, and it didn't feel like it at the time. It felt horrible. I think the first 5 years of practice for most people are probably the hardest. But it really helped me learn how to write and learn how to argue and learn how to persuade. So that's what I did.
Okay. And I had a similar experience as you did. I started in medical malpractice too. I did not like it, but I am so grateful for that experience, because I feel like when you go into plaintiff's personal injury, that knowledge of medicine, and I mean, constantly you're basically representing your experts. So you get free access to as much medical knowledge as you want. And you said you poured a lot of energy into it. I can't imagine you would not pour a lot of energy into anything that you focus on.
Well, that's very kind.
So then you end up moving to California. You do not go into another medical malpractice firm. You go into a plaintiff's PI firm, right?
That's right. That's right.
And when you got there, when we were talking on the phone yesterday, you mentioned that you had essentially changed the way the cases were handled at that firm, right?
That's right. That's right. I've always been more of a, I guess, aggressive. I'm actually calmer now than I used to be. I really began to focus on the client versus the number of cases or the medical bills or what I wanted them to say or how I wanted them to handle things. And I started to listen more than I spoke.
But the power of listening. You know what? Maybe I should practice that right now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, the power of listening is to me, it's more important than being able to communicate. And it's very powerful, but it's also a skill. And I think a lot of people with a lot of different skills that are out there think it's something that they can't do, or it's not them, or the human being can do just about anything if it's recognized as something that's important, and if it's kind of attacked or attended to with discipline. And I know you and I were talking about that word yesterday. And that's a very important word for me, a very powerful word, because when I was younger, discipline meant getting into trouble. Now it's really one of my main sources of joy, is living the disciplined life. So
I'm going to tell a little story about you. You've had a huge influence on me, and you didn't even know it. And I had never spoken directly to you, but we had, chatted a little bit on Slack, and you had hosted some lectures by Jim Rohn at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was listening to those. Some of them were quite long, and all the car washes had shut down. And I was, out in my driveway washing my car with my AirPods in. And I'm verbally saying out loud while I'm listening to this guy, yeah, like totally. And my kids were coming outside. They're like, Mom. And I'm like, it's all right. Like I'm listening to something. And that stuff, I was already on the personal development journey, but that advanced it one step further and took me out of the normal people that I had followed. And you had mentioned someone on our phone call yesterday. Was it Les Anderson?
There's Les Brown. There's a lot of good ones. I really like Jim Rohn, but it's Earl Nightingale.
What I noticed was all the people that I had followed are people who are popular now. And you can hear by the way that Jim Rohn talks that, these lectures were recorded a long time ago, yet the principles remain the same.
Absolutely.
Right? The key or the methodology to reaching what any one person perceives as a successful life are all the same. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yet, I believe in the same breath that a lot of your success is based on you being different. And by you being different, we had talked about your realization that you wanted to be 100% authentic and true to you. And you're, based on what you posted for the rest of the GHQ members to see, you truly are authentic. You are different. You know, your demand letters with TikTok, we're laughing, but I'm thinking, what is the adjuster or the defense attorney thinking when they're reading these letters? And we talked about keeping them short. I mean, everything that seems to be the methodology for working up a case, you do it differently, and yet you get the results. Maybe you can share a little bit about your journey into personal development, and you have an extraordinary story behind that. In terms of your diagnosis and everything else. So maybe you can let everybody in on your personal story.
Absolutely. So about 8 years ago, I was doing trial depositions on a wrongful death case, and we were in Puerto Vallarta. And I noticed that my right hand was kind of shaking like this. And I thought it was just nerves, you know, I was still wet behind the ears. And that led into a situation where I found out that I had early onset Parkinson's. And that was a rough day, you know, and it was a rough couple months after it. But for whatever reason, you know, my father was always very hard on his kids, and not in a bad way, but you know, in a lot of ways that prepared me to handle something as potentially catastrophic as what had happened to me. And fortunately for me, you know, I was able to flip the perspective on it. You know, a lot of people, when things happen to them, they ask, why me? Well, you know, I started to ask, why not me? And you know, that shift from victimhood into you know, what I can get out of it, or what I can learn from a quote unquote bad situation, has transformed my life. And when it came to my business, I've always been pretty skilled at doing what I do in terms of being a lawyer. But what I was hollow in, what I felt like I was lacking was a wholeness. And I don't know if many people can relate to that. But you know, I didn't feel real comfortable with myself. Sure, I was a decent lawyer, but you know, I wasn't a complete human. And it's funny when those things dawn on me, at least, and I think others, things start to appear. And it's been interesting to me how, you know, I got led from, it started with Eric Thomas, and then it went to Les Brown, and then it went to Jim Rohn, and then it went to Earl Nightingale. And then, you know, I started to read the books that they suggested that I read. And it just kind of snowballed into the situation where one day I was just thinking about myself, or not so much myself, but my feelings and my emotions. And it was like I was healed. Not so much from the Parkinson's, but from the you know, daily grind of life that it's so easy to get stuck into. So that really lifted me out of the ashes. And that's why, you know, when I say discipline's a good thing for me now, you know, there's nothing like the good feeling that I have when I wake up early, or when I, you know, live that disciplined life. It really makes me feel better about myself. And, you know, the other thing about Parkinson's that's really helped me is it's helped me connect to the clients. You know, a lot of my cases are more on the catastrophic side. And when I'm able to meet with my clients at the beginning, especially, and kind of let them know that, I'm going through something similar as to, what they're going through. And, I've helped a lot of people go through what they're going through, and that gives me a little bit of perspective. They feel like they're not alone, and that loneliness can be crippling.
Okay. And thank you for
Sure.
sharing that. No, we talked about, yesterday, your belief in your own authenticity. And I was hoping you might be able to share on exactly what it is about you that separates you from other lawyers. And I asked that question because you were able to go into an already established firm
Mhm.
and find the value in cases that were otherwise being undersettled.
Mhm.
And then you go and you start your own practice. And when we talked about your path to success, you had attributed it a lot to how different you are and how insurance companies who deal with you repeatedly know who you are and what you're going to bring to the table. So maybe you can share with other members what separates you from other attorneys.
I'd love to try and tackle that question. It's a difficult one for me to answer fully. What I would start out by saying is I never cut a corner. People kind of see some of my one-page demands, but I mean, I did the 100 hours a week for several years, and I did the 7-page demands. I mean, I never did a 30 or 35 page. That was just too long for me. But I was given the opportunity to handle a lot of files. And with that, I kind of saw what worked for me and what didn't. And there was some trial and I guess some error, but there was also, things that really worked out. And then, once I kind of built myself as a person, I came to the conclusion that if, and this is not a conclusion that no one has reached. I mean, Albert Einstein said it better than me when he said that if you can't explain something in a few sentences, then you really don't know it. So what I tried to do is cut out all the fat, and it's hard not to read a one-page demand. So so that's one of the benefits of keeping it short. The other thing that I think helps with that is seeing more than one case from beginning all the way to end. So it's not just that you just say whatever, pay me insurance scumbag. That doesn't work. But if you know about dermatome patterns, and if you know about what the true value of a back surgery situation is, and how medical bills really don't matter, and all these problems that the insurance company likes to bring up really don't matter, and you focus on what's important, and you practice at it. It's a skill. It's somewhat of an art, but I mean, it starts out as a skill. And then be confident in what you say. I mean, I think it kind of emanates out of the page that I'm not messing around. You know, this may be brief, but it's brief because they really don't need much more than that. So whether you're opening a policy or taking a deposition or trying a case, I mean, most great trial lawyers that I've met, they don't spend a long time explaining things. They're lightning quick, and they're able to do that because they're confident in their approach. And in order to be confident in their approach, they have to be confident in who they are. And so, it really does have to start, inside before, it starts kind of going outward.
And I think that's either a gift, or I think that it absolutely can be developed. For example, Arash Hamanpour was talking about what a gift his confidence was to him. Like, he just didn't believe that he could fail. So what was there to be afraid of?
Yeah.
I'm the total opposite. And that is something that I have tackled on my personal development journey. And I have reached a point finally where I am totally comfortable with who I am. Like my whole thing is if somebody else doesn't like me, that's none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to have the people in my world that are like-minded and want more for themselves and are motivated, blah, blah, blah. But we had talked about yesterday the notion of long demand letters, long meet and confers. And I think it's so funny because I had actually never considered sending out, I don't do super long ones, but a short one like the stuff that you've posted. And when I thought about it, one of the things I told you was no one ever reads it. Why do we do that? Why is it this normalized idea that our demand letters have to be 30 pages long or 10 pages long? In fact, by the time I send a demand, they've already subpoenaed all the medical records. Why are we attaching all the medical records? They already have them. They already know what's going on. They've already had an associate attorney summarize them and look at them. They've already read this, draft status reports. They already know what's going on. So why are we doing that? And when I get meet and confers with a crazy amount of law in it, I never read it. I go straight to the beginning paragraph, what it is they're saying I'm missing. I already know whether or not they're right. And then I go to the end paragraph and look at the deadline. I don't read the stuff in between. I think it's powerful. I think that's a great tip that we can implement moving forward because I think the way you do it, they're actually reading it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
they don't want to, but they can. It's kind of like a train wreck.
Yeah, but they're also taking you seriously because look at this guy. I'm getting 10 letters a day and they're 12 pages long and this guy sends 2 paragraphs.
Yeah. He
must know his stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And when you say that medical bills don't matter, what do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of things that the insurance industry has on its side, and obviously they have political power, and they've been able to convince a lot of the public, with the McDonald's suit, which we all know is a lot more deeper and more complex than the false impression that it was given. So, one of the things that, and that's why I don't like mediation, because mediation is really set up for the insurance carrier. They have their authority and they have their whole system in place, right? So that, they can basically mitigate the amount that they pay. So, when it comes to the insurance company, what I'm looking to do is get past that adjuster, lower level adjuster phase and get into some of the decision makers, right? Because I found once you get it up to the right level, if your case is what you think it is, they will pay. So I don't know if that answers your specific question.
Are you paying, let's say we got a case with $11,000 in helmets because the client.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. So when it comes to medical bills, right? The insurance company focuses on the bills, right? If they're low, they won't generally make a higher offer. If they're high, then they say that the medicals are way too high, and they will reduce their offer. To me, and the cases that I've tried that have been very successful, I mean, if anything, those medical bills can be an anchor, right? What's important, what's salient, and what the insurance company doesn't want to face is the human element. The loss itself. It's one thing to say I had a back surgery. It's another thing to say, I can't play with my children because my back is forever in pain. It's the more we take it out of the computer or whatever programs they use and put it into actual life, the more risk I think that the insurance carrier learns to express through dollars.
So you capitalize, let me not say capitalize, that's a terrible word. You place the value on the client themselves rather than the number.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's interesting because I had a couple of unique opportunities where I went and watched a lot of these really common procedures that our clients have, right? So
Mm.
I went into the surgery center. I watched the epidural injections. I watched the ablations. I watched the spinal cord stimulator implants, the trials, the discectomies. And what I found was these procedures are not nearly, just because they're outpatient procedures, they're not nearly as simple as what the defense attorneys and the insurance adjusters were making them out to be. And I'll give you an example. I went in to watch a discectomy. Well, the guy that had the surgery had an osteophyte complex, and the doctor was getting frustrated because he was trying to figure out how to get around the osteophyte, and it made the surgery twice as long. And I'm looking at the patient on the table who's unconscious, thinking he's got no idea what's even happening to his body right now. And then afterwards they wake up, they're groggy, they're in pain, they're recovering. Like, we don't place enough value on the fact that I don't want to get cut on, and the fact that they even had to get cut on to begin with and have to go through that. Everyone's nervous, everyone's scared. There's so much value, I think, that we don't emphasize when we're making these demands for procedures that insurance companies otherwise consider to be minimal or non-invasive or unimportant or of low value. And it seems like you are not only monetizing on those little nuggets, but on who your clients are as well. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so when I look at the value of a case, it's really not the value of the case, it's the value of the client. And you brought up a very good point when it comes to there's more to surgery than just the aftermath, right? I often say even in my demand letters, that there are some themes that I use, that people don't change until the pain of change becomes less than the pain of staying the same. And what that means to our everyday clients is that they will live through the pain. I mean, and people don't get surgery until they need it, until the pain is unbearable. So that whole buildup, right? First, the most clients, that in my practice anyway, this is probably, their first accident, which means this is their first uh, uh, realization that they are mortal. And, I think a lot of people, myself included, before I got sick, I thought I was invincible. And, I mean, I didn't think it, but, that it didn't occupy my time. But once that bubble gets popped, I mean, there's a lot of emotional things that happen. And, so there's so many little nuggets or sources of suffering that, aren't in the medical reports, right?
It's so true. And I think that's really important, because when I would talk to other people who wanted to start their own firm, they're like, Ash, when did you decide that the fear was not worth it anymore? Like, how did you overcome the fear? And I said, when your current level of comfort is outweighed by the unknown, meaning, my current reality is more uncomfortable than the unknown future.
That's right.
That's when people move into the unknown. If
That's
you
right.
are more uncomfortable right now, and that's also why I don't ever pressure my clients to get medical treatment. I'll talk it through with them. But the truth is, I mean, if we're being really honest, if somebody's really in pain, if they're that in pain, they're willing to do anything. If they're
Absolutely.
that uncomfortable, they're like, I don't care if you split me. I remember, when I was pregnant the first time, the first 9 months, I was so scared of labor. Like, if I saw a labor scene in a movie, I would cry. Like, I was so scared. That last month, I was so uncomfortable. I was like, I don't care if you cut me open right here. Get this baby out, right?
That's right.
Your
That's
current
right.
your current reality becomes more uncomfortable than the unknown. So my clients who are truly, truly in pain, I don't have to pressure them to get any kind of surgeries. They're calling me saying, please, like, call the doctor, approve this. I really need to have this done.
Absolutely.
Like, I let the truth rise to the surface, because those are the same cases. I know if that case goes to trial, I can tell that story because I know that client is genuine, and I know it's going to come off on the witness stand. It's the clients where you got to call them and pressure them. And literally, I've had cases referred to me where the clients go to the DME doctor and they literally say, I got it because the referring attorney, whatever that person's name is, they told me to.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
yeah, that's a nightmare situation, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and one of the things I like the most about you is the fact that you practice law for the right reason. And when you practice law for the right reason, you are seeking justice for those who truly deserve it, not the clients who are looking for the payday, but they're not really hurt that bad. You're really doing it for the right reason. And we talked about that yesterday. With that being said, let's talk about your morning routine.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you are obviously a student of success, and as am I. And one of the things that Jim Rohn taught me is to make everything a study, and that's something that I try to do. And I think it's important for. I mean, the law is a platform. It's a worthy platform, but it's a platform nevertheless. And I think that a lot of lawyers can get too much caught up into I'm a lawyer versus I'm a good human being. And so that's something that those distractions, those need to be quieted. But my morning routine, it it's been an evolution. But when I realized something. I wanted to figure out a way that I could be unique and kind of separate myself from the herd. And one thing that I realized is people get up early, but not many people get up at 3. And so I said, well, that's it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to start getting up at 3. And that is, I start my mornings early, and then as you have found, and as I have found, a morning routine is very, very common and sacred in highly successful and productive people. I mean, it's like that first hour after I get up, that's mine. Meditation is very important to me. That's one of the first things that I do. The first thing that I actually do is I pray. And when I pray, I thank, my God. Everyone has their own, beliefs, and that they're all probably right to a large extent. But when I pray, I thank my God for everything that's been given to me, and I'm very specific about that. And I think that's a very good practice for people to get into in terms of gratitude. It's a panacea. I mean, if you're feeling low, be grateful. If you're feeling good, be grateful. It's it can cure a lot of those human cycles, those negative cycles that can be formed if someone is just grateful for what they have. I mean, a lot of people can be sick and get into that negative cycle of my life is horrible, but that doesn't help them at all, right? But when as soon as someone starts being grateful for what they have in their life or had, um, you know, uh, uh, as soon as they do that, change comes. So that's very important to me.
What about, do you know Dr. Joe Dispenza?
I'm a huge fan. I've read all his books. I meditate. Generally my guided meditations are through him, and I still want to go to one of his week long.
Me too. And it's funny, I just discovered him. I stumbled onto him on YouTube. I'm reading Becoming Supernatural right now. I just purchased one of his guided meditations, getting ready to start. It's an hour long, so I got to carve out that time. But he has this notion that I think it's not new. I've heard it before, but sometimes 12 people can say the same thing, but only one person can make that message land, right? To us personally. And he mentioned being grateful for what you don't have, but what you want so that you manifest it, right? So he talks about, and I just started practicing this, and I've done it unintentionally in the past, but I wasn't aware of it, where you think about what it is you want in the future, either through a meditation or whatever, and you feel the feelings as if you've already got it and you're grateful for it, and it helps you to manifest it. And the other part of gratitude that I think is so important is when I'm in a bad mood or things are just rough, it really helps to recenter your day when you practice gratitude in the moment when you least want to.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is. But do you do that? Do you practice, thinking about what it is you want in the future and feeling the feelings as if you already have it and being grateful for those feelings? Because he mentions, also not the first person I've heard mention this, but your mind does not know the difference, right? So if you feel a feeling, whether it's happening in your external world or not, your mind does not know the difference.
No, it doesn't. And Joe is I think he is unique, because what he's able to do is he's able to show the data.
He ties science into it.
Right.
He's got a whole biological science behind it. That's the part I've never heard before. It's a little hard for me to digest. Mm-hmm. The science, because it's real heavy, but this guy has it figured out exactly what happens in your brain and what happens in your body and why this stuff works. Other people say, manifest it, it'll come to you. I promise, just try it. He's like, no, here's how you manifest it, and here's exactly why it works in your body. And it ties science with a little bit of supernatural, with a little bit of mystical, a little bit of spirituality. Craziness. Sorry.
He also has a book, You Are the Placebo, and that's an amazing book. So you've got a treasure to look forward to. But yes, that's exactly what I do. And he really focuses on the methodology. The human mind has between 70 and 90,000 thoughts a day, but only 9% of them are new. So that, tells a lot, but one of the important points that I gleaned from that is there's a lot of thoughts that are going on that are just habitual thoughts. And what happens to those thoughts is they end up manifesting into physical reality. And we know that when it comes to stress, to the negative side, right? If you live a stressful life, it's been proven that you're more at risk for heart attack and an early demise. I mean, I've never heard anyone argue against that. But so that makes the opposite true, right? If you can basically separate your body and your mind, and let your body and your Joe includes the subconscious into that body definition. But if you can separate that and all those bad cycles or habitual thoughts, I'm not good enough. That's not what I do. I can't do this. I mean, words are powerful. So and what he gets people to do is look into the unknown, right? And I will share an experience with you that I think that you'll like. I started, I've been meditating for a while now, but one morning I woke up, and I've been focusing on the unknown. One morning I woke up and I felt a bliss that I had never felt before in my life.
He talks about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I'm not that guy, maybe I'm turning into it, but I mean, and I was literally saying to myself, what am I forgetting that's going to happen? Because I've never felt this excited. I've never felt this good. And, I couldn't think of it, so, I mean, I guess what I was left with is that's my future. So,
I literally was listening to his book I listened to it on audiobook, and I was listening to it this morning, and he was literally talking about what you just said. And he said that And when I pulled in the parking lot here at JHQ, he was ending with, that's heart rate cohesiveness, something like that.
Coherence,
and he
yeah.
talks about how to maintain that through the day so that we don't get sucked back into
Mhm.
old familiar practices that are harmful to us. And he talks about how people go to his seminars, which I would love to. I mean, the
Right.
advanced ones are a week long, you know,
Yeah.
hard to do that. But he's got one going on sale tomorrow in Cancun, by the way.
I do know that.
Yeah. It talks about finding a way to carry it through your day so you stay in that state of mind. And the people who went to his seminars, how they were literally waking up with those feelings, or those feelings were randomly happening to them, and that meant that that cohesiveness was becoming ingrained in who they were.
Right,
So
right.
I'm
And
glad,
then,
but I really wanted to talk to somebody who had actually experienced it, not the, you know, anecdotal tales that he shares, but
sure.
you're it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it was quite an experience. I mean, it really shocked my body, and you know, that's another thing that he describes. You know, in order to break these negative cycles, you have to have an emotion that's so powerful that, you know, it can break these things that have become hardwired into our minds. So, you know, and that feeling definitely did it. I mean, you know, like, so when he talks about, you know, how do you feel, or what are your thoughts, you know, when you think into the future, like, now I know, you know, because I was given that gift of how it actually feels. So yeah, it's weird, but I mean, it certainly has been working for me.
So I have two questions for you. One, I'm a little nervous to ask you.
Don't
Um,
be.
a lot of the stories that he's told in his book are about people that come to him with physical ailments, and
Mhm.
how they have been cured of those ailments by basically changing their biology. Because he talks about when, you know, we suffer disease or whatnot, that's our external environment turning on our genes.
Yep.
Meaning, like, you could turn them on in some circumstances, you could turn them off, and sometimes you don't even tap into them, so you never experience a disease. I'm wondering if you've utilized any of his technology to help your Parkinson's.
Absolutely. That's why I did it. And you know, I those people who know me pretty well know that I'm not like a huge, I don't know how to put it. I'm not the type to buy into, weird theories and things like that.
There was a time when I didn't even believe in God.
No, me too, me too,
Trust me,
me too.
it's been a long journey for me, but I'm right there
But
with
yes, and so that's one of the main reasons why I delved into it, because Western medicine, it serves a purpose for a lot of the smaller stuff. But you know, when it comes to the mind and the brain, they just don't know yet. And so, you know, you have to look elsewhere. And you know, why not look within? I mean, the biggest lesson that I've learned over the past 5 years is, you know, I don't mind, or it doesn't bother me that someone else is successful. I don't really pay much attention to that. What I pay attention to is what I can do, you know, with what's been given to me.
somebody else is hating on someone who has experienced success. They've got too much time.
I agree. I agree. And and at the end of the day, it really hurts that person. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, so it's not constructive either. It's not helpful to them. But yeah, and between you, me, and the internet, it's working.
That's what
Yeah,
I want to hear.
yeah. I mean,
I'm
it's
so
going to be a
glad.
long,
And,
it's
and
going
I
to be a
thought
long
about
ride,
this
but
morning, I'm so glad to hear that you follow him, because I literally was thinking about you this morning when I was listening to these stories, and I'm like, I wonder if Ben has discovered this.
yeah, he's amazing. I mean, he really is. And you know, I wouldn't start with him just because, you know, too many people have to see it before they can believe it. And that's
It's out there.
yeah, absolutely,
I feel like
Absolutely.
you have to have a foundation and a belief in it,
Hmm.
or
An
and
openness.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You have to. If you don't have an openness, it's not going to work for you. But I had been studying this stuff for years beforehand. He takes it to the next level.
He does. He
And,
does. And
I think that's a very good point. I think you definitely have to be open to it and introduced to the ideas before you go there. But, and I know you haven't watched a lot of my episodes in the past. I'm kind of hoping that changes in the future.
it
Um,
will.
but I talk a lot about mindset because I am an avid believer just based on my own experience. Like it, when I decided I needed to open my own firm, it took me a good year, which now in hindsight, it felt so long then, but now I realize it was actually a short period of time for me to study personal development to get myself ready. And when some people like Arish Hamanpour, they're ahead, right? In terms of confidence, self-assuredness, they're ahead. Some people are right in the middle where, they can do it from where they start. I was way behind.
Mhm.
Um, no self-confidence, all fear, um, all of it. I suffered from all of it. And it was a lot of work. I'm talking daily journaling, affirmations, meditations, everything that made me so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But I was so desperate for the solution, I was willing to give anything a try, right? Um,
Absolutely.
and that's why I am a huge proponent, especially for similarly situated individuals in personal development and mindset. And some people are kind of like rah rah rah, not that big a deal. I believe it is so closely tied to success. And one of the things that I did was I became a student of success. As you said, I started researching very successful people. We talked about Ed Milet, whom I
Yep.
love.
He's
Um,
on fire.
oh, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. I love him. And I realized most successful people, if not all, actually, I actually don't even know of an exception, um, have personal development on their daily to-do list.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and the biggest reason I was excited to have you on today was because I knew that you would support that idea that they are so closely tied together.
The key to success, or a key, but a major one, is to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. A job is an acronym for just over broke, right?
Wow.
So
Wow.
I mean, but that is the key in my mind, is that it's important to do work, right? But it's also it's infinitely important to do work within, because if you're focusing on, and I'm not talking about being selfish, and I think it's really easy to misunderstand that point. It's been called many things, from Aristotle, up to Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn calls it enlightened self-interest, because service to others is really what it's all about. That's what we're here for. That's what Einstein said.
That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And the more people that we serve, life is kind in many ways. The more people that you serve, the more rewards you get. Not just from the actual act of serving, but you literally have it come back, in different ways. I've seen it happen many times to myself and to others. So if you find someone who is very wealthy, what you'll probably find is someone who's helped a lot of people. So yes, you've got my stamp of approval on that thought. And to those people who don't want you to speak about that, I wouldn't listen to them.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
And obviously,
I always have a little piece of it in every chat. I could literally talk to you for 2 hours. There's so much I want to unpack, but one of the questions I'd asked you, well, number one, we talked about yesterday, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? Like I don't like to surround myself with limited people. Not a whole lot of people that I would truly feel comfortable wanting to study myself.
Mhm.
I'm very discriminatory in terms of who I want to model or study or learn from. So I'm going to ask you to be a casual mentor to me. I may have to hit you up for some advice. You are further along on the personal development journey. Everything you post on Slack, I read or I listen to, even if I don't comment. And I think we believe in a lot of the same things. So if I call you, pick up the phone, please.
I will definitely do that. And, there have been many people who have helped me get to where I am at today. And I owe those people, to help others. And I do that with clients too.
No, if for anyone out there who's thinking they don't need help, you are not only sadly mistaken, but you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. And that's the worst part about it,
So if a new attorney comes to you and says, Ben, I really want to start my own firm, what are 3 tips that you give them?
Well, the first thing I would ask them actually is why, because I think it's very important before we get started, down that path, that the person really wants to do it for a reason that is, good, but also that they believe in. Because if you don't believe in it, you're gonna either today or 5 years from now, you're not gonna like what you're doing. So that would be the first question that I ask. The first tip that I would give is focus on the client. I was asked by a very astute younger man, how I get my cases. And there's a lot of different ways that I do it, but basically the answer was simple. Become the type of person that an injured victim would want to protect their interests. So, that would kind of be my second point. And finally, write down your goals. Write them down and look at them every day. That would be, it's not really law related, it's life related.
No, that is law related, because part of this is law and part of it is scaling up your practice. And one of the things that I heard this morning by Dr. Joe Dispenza was making a mind movie.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to look into that, because that's a daily reminder of the life that you want to lead. And one of the biggest reasons why you are so good at what you do is because you truly believe in this notion of justice and advocating for your clients.
Yeah.
So, and I think your goals there is nothing wrong with having goals of wanting to be financially secure. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a large house or take fancy vacations. And I told you yesterday that my dad told me something when I was a little girl, and he said, don't ever do it for the money. If you love what you do, you will be exceptional at it and the money will follow.
Absolutely. And I know that we're probably short on time, but it doesn't matter if you are a plumber or you bake pies, whatever your gift is, use that gift. Figure it out what it is, and then you can turn anything into a success. We are fortunate enough to have a very worthy profession, and I know that PI lawyers probably get a lot of flack from a lot of different people, and maybe some of it's deserved, but we really have the ability to execute change in our client's life. And that doesn't, start with helping them to get healed, or it may start with that. And another part of it is to get them the compensation that they deserve. But how many lawyers actually, after the case is done, try to make sure that their client turns into the type of person that won't blow that money, or, offers their services after they've been paid? Start doing that, and success will follow.
Man, this was everything I thought it was going to be. And I told you before, I was nervous if I asked you to be on the show that you would say no. But when I finally did, you said yes. And I am so grateful.
So am I. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I know you don't put yourself out there a lot. This is pretty much the only way that I put myself out there. But I'm so grateful Maybe one day we can make it to that Joe Dispenza
That'd be great.
seminar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you for tips
Anytime.
and mindset tips. I think
Anytime.
we're truly an inspiration. Hopefully we can have you on again, because I do want to dig deeper into this notion that you have of discipline. I think it's truly impressive, a huge key to your success. But in closing, thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. Please keep posting that stuff on Slack, because I do follow it. It does help. And for everyone else, thank you for joining this week's edition of Level Up with Laiken, sending you lots of love, joy, and success this week. Goodbye, everybody.